In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Adam Wolf from Gamers Platform, and today we have another video for you where we try to match the current generation of consoles, the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, and try to best them at their game, or at least match them, like I said. I know, it's been a while since I've put out a video. I've been, hard at work, literally at work, and boy do I miss having the days when I could just make a video and things would just go well. But right now we're going to be getting into... I would have put this out a couple weeks ago, but I kind of got tied up with some other stuff. So I'm sorry. It's a little bit late, but that's okay. I don't care. I'm going to make it anyway. Right now we're going to be going over Dark Souls Remastered. And I've been hearing a lot that this game is actually pretty well optimized, so, we're going to test the metal of that statement by trying it out on our rig here. For those of you who don't remember, I'm running a Ryzen 7 1700 overclocked to 3.7 gigahertz. We've got 16 gigs of 2400 megahertz DDR4 RAM, and an EVGA GTX 1060 6GB super clocked, or SSC, running on Windows 10, of course. And as you can see by the graphics settings here, I am actually running at 4K, 3840 by 2160. I have disabled VSync in-game and have actually enabled it in the NVIDIA control panel. I'm using the fast sync because I'm trying to get the most juice that I can without causing any issues on the back end. So, you know, VSync sometimes doesn't work very well. And in this case, if you have any VSync enabled other than maybe fast VSync through the NVIDIA control panel, you're going to see frames drop like crazy. So, you definitely want to have that. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, turn on fast VSync. AMD users, I'm not sure what options you have, but I'll tell you what, once I get an actual good AMD card in the future, we'll be covering those as well. I also have anti-aliasing turned off. I was using FXAA, but it didn't seem to really help. I mean, it was not as heavy as temporal anti-aliasing, but I just decided to go with it off because it's not entirely necessary at 4K. The resolution is so high that, you know, it doesn't really kill any jaggies. They don't really exist very much. So, you know, anti-aliasing, take it or leave it. FXAA, I just like it because it gives the game a bit of a softer look, but I can go without it as well. So I'm going to give you some quick thoughts. First of all, I'm running through just the first area in the game because, one, I suck, so I never would have been able to make it to Blighttown anyway, and two, just simply because it's short, sweet, to the point, kind of puts together a bunch of stuff all at once, and you're able to see the performance of the game as we go along. It's not a bad testing area. Obviously, like I said, Blighttown would have been a much better area, but I've never made it there, so I don't know. So this game, the graphics are much improved, for sure, but there are some textures that still look a bit muddy. So even though it's a remastering, I think what it really is that they just made an official release of the game with the DS fix integrated, but, you know, a little bit better, obviously. Because the DS Fix only worked with what they had in terms of modding the game, whereas the developers actually have all the tools. So, there you go. And so, it does hit 60 frames a second for the most part, but when you're talking about heavy alpha effects like lights and, you know, kind of spells or anything like that, something that might actually cause, you know, take up most of the screen, or, you know, heavy physics, that will cause some drop in the frame rate. Sometimes it's stuff that you're not even in control of the character when it happens, like with the boss here. You'll see when he's swinging his hammer around, if there was VSync enabled, the frame rate would drop down to half. And that's not good, especially when you're playing a game. It's very jarring. But then when he dies, there's a nice plume of light, and that can drop the frames probably about, I would say, what was it, 11 frames, give or take. Maybe 11 to 15 frames, but that's, you know, a point in time when you're not even in control of the character, so it's not that big a deal, but still. Although I tried everything I could to keep the frame rate at a locked 60, it still was a bit difficult. But for the most part, we're looking at actually a situation where we are beating the current gen consoles, the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Those are actually locked at 1800p, not a true 4K. It's close, but it's, you know, and it looks nice, but it's not 4K. We are actually at a true 4K, thanks to NVIDIA's DSR option in the control panel. So, we are actually better than the current gen consoles, and that's saying a lot because the PS4 Pro actually has a 4.2 teraflop GPU, which is pretty much the one we have, and the Xbox One X has a 6 teraflop GPU, and it still can't hit 4K 60. So that kind of says something about the power of the CPU, even though if you are watching the meter, in the corner there, the CPU is actually underutilized. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but you can definitely tell that this game is a graphics heavy game, a very GPU bound game. So I found it interesting that this is actually quite an accomplishment. Even though it's an old game and they have kind of just upscaled it a little bit, it's still 4K. I'm pulling 4K here at 60 frames a second. I can't do that a lot with a lot of modern games, and so it's kind of nice to actually see that some developers they go a little bit extra to make sure that things work properly. But can the GTX 1060 play Dark Souls Remastered at 60 frames a second? Yes, it can. And if you were wondering if you could play it at 4K 60 frames a second, well, now you know. Yes, you can for the most part. Some hiccups here and there, but that really depends on what it is. Just wanted to make this quick video. I hope it was somewhat informative. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please join me in the next one where I compare Dark Souls Remastered to the original Dark Souls and see how they just add up, performance-wise. So definitely come on back for that one. And don't forget to check the links in the video description below, especially the one for Extra Life. We're at $51 out of 200. I could really use the help. If you can't give, don't worry. We got all year to do it, so we're going to hit that $200 no matter what. No matter what. Even if I can't help it, we're going to hit it. But if you can give, don't hesitate to donate. But until next time, guys, I'm Adam Wolf. This is Dark Souls Remastered, and I will see you guys in the next one.